today's episode, if you haven't been following along, Keegan revealed his favorite picks. Aidan revealed his favorite quarterbacks and some other players, a.k.a. his favorite picks. I am revealing my favorite picks on today's episode, so I'm stoked. I'm going to go rounds 1 to 12, maybe even offer a deep sleeper if I'm feeling a little frisky, and Keegan and Aidan are going to ask me questions. They're going to grill me. It's going to be a great time. All right, Keegan, you're driving the boat today. How do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, Shaun is so graciously giving me the keys to drive the RTM wagon today. So Shaun's had a turn to host both Aidan and I, listen to us ramble about our favorite fantasy players through 12 rounds. And so today we're turning things over, and it's time to ask Shaun who his favorite players are. So why don't we kick things off here, Shaun, and let's go with your favorite player to draft in round 1 of fantasy football this year.
My favorite player to draft in round 1 of fantasy football. So here's my thought process. This year, it seems like everything's flipped on its head. Everyone is going to try and take wide receivers in round 1. It's a strategy that we've been leaning on for a while now, Keegan. However, I really want a stud running back, and I'm afraid that running backs are going to dry up by the middle of the second round. I think there are some interesting guys in the dead zone, but it's kind of a coin flip on where it's going to go either way. So I want to leave the first round with a high-valued running back. So that leaves me to the most homer pick that I could take and make. And my favorite pick in all of round 1 this season, outside of Justin Jefferson, of course, but that'd be just lame if we just said that. Favorite pick in round 1 is Christian McCaffrey. So Christian McCaffrey's RB finishes after he joined the San Francisco 49ers. Here were his weekly finishes. RB2, RB11, RB11, RB38, RB1, 2, 4, 17, 2, and 9. He averaged 23 fantasy points per game in San Francisco and was the clear-cut RB1 after he got traded. Austin Eckler finished as the RB2 with 20 fantasy points per game from when the time period in which CMC was traded. Brock Purdy will most likely keep this offense stable. Elijah Mitchell is already hurt, and the offense is going to run through Christian McCaffrey. For a decade, you had to pay up and take this player with the first pick in the draft. Some wide receiver happy rooms, you're going to get him at pick 4, pick 5. I think Christian McCaffrey, if a couple things break here or there, if some injuries occur, if the Niners are pass happier than expected, he could have a legitimate chance at another 1,000 yard season. So I'm all in on taking Christian McCaffrey here. He's my favorite pick in the first round. What do you guys think about CMC?
I love that you're zigging when people are zagging here, Shaun, and definitely avoiding that wide receiver area. My question for you is, how early would you take CMC?
2. There's a realistic opportunity where I see it. Yeah, you could make an easy argument. You could make an easy argument to take him number 1 overall. Like, you legitimately could. It's not like Justin Jefferson outscored him by some massive margin on a weekly basis. Running backs in home leagues are the most important commodities you can have in football. Now, you can take different approaches to try and find RB1s maybe later on in the draft, but what do we know? You find these league-winning running backs usually in the first 2 to 3 rounds of fantasy. Other running backs that I think are really interesting are Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Austin Eckler. Of course, those are kind of the 4 that are going in that round. I really was leaning between CMC and Saquon. I think Bijan, if I just wanted to pick the sexiest name off the board and ignore some of the concerns about Tyler Algier and usage, which I think are valid. If you told me I was dumb, stop overthinking it, just draft Bijan, he could easily be my favorite pick here in the first. But I'm going with CMC. This is one of the greatest fantasy assets of all time. He's in an offense in year 2. It runs through him. I'm game on CMC. So I'd take him as high as 2.
Wow. I thought you were going to hit us with Austin Eckler. I'm not going to lie. You've been talking
Yeah,
about
when you opened up the conversation with the running back thing, I thought you were actually going to head towards Eckler,
I for sure thought you were going. Yeah, you've been asking some questions in the chat about Austin Eckler lately. I thought you were going to zag like even harder here, but I think CMC is a slam dunk. I think easy path to RB1.
Before we get further,
we'll get to Eckler in another episode.
But before we get to the next round, Shaun, do you have any concerns about a healthy Elijah Mitchell?
What's that? I'd like to be introduced to him.
Those 2 words typically don't go together.
Okay, so play devil's advocate for me for a second. Okay. You're the 49ers fan. You know that Elijah Mitchell's health is not the cleanest bill. You know, we've all seen it. But in the instance that he does play a majority of the season, are you worried about Christian McCaffrey's ceiling? And you know Shanahan likes to split touches as much as possible.
Sure. Like, Shanahan's been doing the Arthur Smith long before Arthur Smith, so I get it. So you're getting him at the 4th or 5th pick in a draft, and that's kind of priced in. Now, if you're taking him at 1 or 2, obviously you should hope that he's 100% the bell cow. But I think when push comes to shove, Kyle Shanahan's all about winning NFL games. And by week 7 or 8, if it means he has to completely lean on CMC and just make him 100% the focal point of the offense, he will do it, right? So I think a healthy Elijah Mitchell at the beginning of the season would be ideal. We need Christian McCaffrey healthy for the stretch run where we're trying to win championships. Jordan Mason's interesting. Ty Davis-Price is interesting. I don't know. It's a good running back room. I'll leave it at that. So I'm a big fan of Elijah Mitchell's game. He's a good backup plan if anything were to happen to CMC, but no, I'm not too worried about it.
Fair enough. Who is your favorite player to target in the second round after you've now added Christian McCaffrey to the squad?
Yeah, I'm going to go chalk as chalk can be here. I'm going to take Amon Ra St. Brown as my favorite pick in the second round. I was flirting with Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was definitely sending me some draft me vibes, but I ended up going home back to ARSB. It ended up working out well. Everyone that follows this podcast knows where I stand with Amon Ra St. Brown. I was pulling up some fantasy points data. Since week 13 of 2021, here is the list of wide receivers who have scored more fantasy points than Amon Ra St. Brown. Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams. End list. Those are the only 2 guys that have scored more fantasy points than ARSB since week 13 of 2021. He remains virtually unchallenged for targets in a high-powered offense. He could realistically see 12 targets a game, and with positive touchdown regression, could have a slate-breaking season. I personally have him ranked ahead of A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb in full-point PPR this season. Take it home, straight to the bank. Amon Ra St. Brown is by far and away my favorite pick in the second round.
It feels like cheating a little bit because, yeah, you would take him in the first. And I know you've commented multiple times that you would take him in the first. So really the same case that me and Aidan both made for Tony Pollard, who we would also take in the first, taking in the second here. But yeah, Amon Ra St. Brown is regularly a second round draft pick in redrafts. I think very rarely you'll see him go in the first unless one of your teammates just absolutely loves him. I feel like it's such a great, solid pick in the second round, especially if you play in a full PPR league. Those catches really add up, and he started scoring some touchdowns, and you're right, he could be dangerous this year in fantasy.
If you're sitting at that wrap this year, like Sun God is pretty much the ideal candidate. You snag yourself one of the running backs still there in Sun God, and you are absolutely flying through 2 rounds. So yeah, I'm not surprised you in Sun God. We are pro Sun God, one of the team captains of the Dome Bros. So I think it's an awesome pick, Shaun.
Dome Bros, shout out.
Dome Bros, stand up.
Dome Bros shirts coming soon for sure.
Coming soon.
Outside of Amon Ra St. Brown, obviously they've added Sam Laporta, and now they have Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's really not a strong receiving core.
No.
Josh Reynolds, Marvin Jones, like I said, Sam Laporta.
Marvin Jones
also got,
in the year of 2023. In the year of 2023, Marvin Jones.
I don't know if there's a receiver that has less like true target competition with the same ceiling that Amon Ra St. Brown does in the entire NFL
Cooper
right
Kupp.
now. So, well,
Cooper Kupp.
Yes,
that's it.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah, it's basically
That's
the same.
fair.
It's like Cooper Kupp, which is who Amon Ra St. Brown gets comped to. So I know I make that comparison. It sounds blasphemous, but I stand by it.
I love it. I love it. So 2 of your guys, we've already got a Homer 49ers pick and then Amon Ra St. Brown, who you've been banging the drum on all year. So I love this start. So looking at round 3, Shaun, who is your favorite player to target here in this area?
I got to go with Keegan's favorite receiver in the National Football League, Chris Olave. That's who I'm taking here in the third round.
Yes. One comment about Chris Olave, one anti-Chris Olave comment, and here it is. And now he's my least favorite player in the NFL.
Take it home.
I am taking Chris Olave here in the third round. There's a lot of running backs with question marks here in the third round. Ramondre Stevenson, I love you. You looked amazing in the preseason. Jahmyr Gibbs, you look awesome. I think you're going to be the second option in this offense as a pass catcher. Breece Hall's going in the third round. We love Breece, right? But there's just a lot of question marks. Competition, it's a little murky. Why not go with an ascendant year 2 wide receiver that I think could has a legitimate case to be a superstar in the National Football League here in Chris Olave in the third round? There have been 7 wide receivers who have averaged a 2.25 or higher yards per route run as rookies over the past, I'd say, 10 years. OBJ, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Christian Watson, and Chris Olave. We had 2 rookies from last year's class jump into that list of wide receivers who have had a higher yards per route run than 2.25. All wide receivers in their second seasons have gone on to finish in the top 7 the next year. I love Christian Watson. I've been on the record sticking my neck out for this guy. But Chris Olave was a better player, a more consistent player, and is a safer bet with Derek Carr against one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. Give me Chris Olave every day of the week in round 3.
Yes, sir. With Derek Carr, I love Chris Olave. He was an absolute beast last year, and he's only going to be better. The only question mark, obviously, is if you believe in the ghost of Michael Thomas, which I personally don't. So I love Chris Olave. I think he's going to be an absolute target hog. Him and Derek Carr are a match made in heaven. Give me Chris Olave at the start of round 3 any day of the week and twice on Sundays, Shaun.
Nick Underhill, who's like the foremost on all things, like one of the best beat writers in the National Football League. He's a beat writer for the Saints. Must follow on Twitter if you want to get up to date on Saints stuff. He's just every other day. It's like Chris Olave is a superstar. Like this guy is a monster. He is dominating. I want every share of Chris Olave I can get. Kind of feels like cheating that I can get him in the 3rd round, to be honest. Especially if you have the first pick in the draft. On that wrap, you have access to take another like running back that might be a little sus, but like it's fine. And then you can take Chris Olave with Justin Jefferson to form your wide receiver duo. That is something worth considering, fellas. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think a lot of smart people too, like Sleeper ADP will have him in the 3rd round, and ESPN ADP, Yahoo, it'll all be 3rd round Chris Olave. But I think a lot of smart people in the fantasy community value him as a 2nd round draft pick. So that does feel a little bit like a steal to me as well. I mean, T. Higgins, Chris Olave, Devonta Smith. I'm probably going to go Chris Olave there, considering he's the wide receiver 1. You know, and those are 2 other really good wide receivers in that territory. But I agree. I like that pick, Shaun. So moving on to round 4 here, your first 3 picks, you've got Christian McCaffrey, Amon Ra St Brown, and now Chris Olave. So who are we rocking with in the 4th this year, Shaun?
Uno, him, whatever you want to call him. I'm going with Justin Fields here in the 4th
Say
round.
His name. Say his name, baby.
Justin Fields, quarterback, Chicago Bears, whatever you want to call him. I am taking him in the 4th round. Justin Fields, you've heard me poetically wax. You've heard my dissertation. At this point, I'm writing my fantasy football thesis on Justin Fields succeeding last year when everything was bet against him, essentially, with that setup. Love the addition of DJ Moore. Big fan of Khalil Herbert. This offensive line looks ready to maul people in the run game. Still some questions in the pass game and pass production, but just a much more improved. Like, we underestimate the jump from terrible to average or slightly below average. That is a massive leap in offensive line play. Competency can unlock so much for this offense. I think Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, started to understand the strengths of Justin Fields in terms of calling more RPOs, getting him involved in the run game. And yeah, I kind of genuinely think his weapons went from just the worst in the National Football League to like solid. Again, all of these guys have interesting draft capital, collegiate profiles, DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney. It really isn't a bad trio. I like Cole Kmet. Their running backs are good. Their division's not that good. They play half their division games in a dome. So sign me up here for Justin Fields. I think he makes a leap as a passer. And I don't know if he has maybe the same electric rushing season he had last year, but in the 4th round, this guy easily could jump into the Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts tier, Lamar tier. Give me all the Fields you can get in the 4th round.
So I think, Aidan, you also had a quarterback in the 4th round as well, right? For your favorite pick. Yeah, and so I had Lamar Jackson. I think it's interesting that all 3 of us have agreed that in the 4th round, it's best to take a quarterback. You know, some players that might be going there, Joe Mixon, potentially Travis Etienne, Alexander Madison, maybe Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker. Wide receivers are Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams, Christian Kirk-ish, Drake London. And, when you say a lot of those names, sure, some of them might sound fun. Like Drake London has some unique upside. And I think Mike Williams is
He's a 5th
great
round.
pick.
Drake London's
round, but he should be a 5th rounder. But the running backs are what I'm trying to point out here. That's what you're really trying to avoid, that dead zone area. And you scoop up some value with a really elite quarterback that has an insanely high ceiling and just move on with your day and don't take one of those guys who could cost you some massive value in the 4th round. I love it. We're all on the same page there in the 4th.
Yeah. So round 5, you mentioned Drake London. So I thought long and hard about pulling the trigger on Drake London. Was I influenced by his sideline acrobatic catch in the preseason? Absolutely. It was a good reminder that Drake London is a freak. And also, I don't think Desmond Ridder is great, but I don't think he's going to be even remotely as bad as Marcus Mariota. So I thought long and hard about Drake London. It's a sexy pick. I thought long and hard about Christian Watson. But at the end of the day, my favorite pick in the 5th round is none other than Dameon Pierce. This was Keegan's favorite pick in the 5th round. Playing in the worst offense in football, Dameon Pierce had a 7-week stretch as a rookie where he averaged 17.3 fantasy points per game and was the RB12 on a points per game basis. So we've seen him do it before. Sure, he kind of tailed off, got hurt at the end of last season, but we have seen what he can do as a bell cow running back, really only playing on 1st and 2nd downs in one of the worst teams in the National Football League. This season he's playing behind a much improved offensive line. He's in a Shanahan run scheme with Bobby Slowick with a major upgraded QB. It's a rookie QB, though. I have a feeling this team wants to play good defense, sit on the ball, turn around, and give the rock to Dameon Pierce 20-25 times a game. Something that's important to keep in mind here. In the preseason, I think it was like 14 snaps last night with C.J. Stroud. Dameon Pierce played all 14. He did not come off the field. He played all 3 downs. He was out there looking great in pass protection. If he is a 3-down back, if he is on the field for all 3 snaps, and he is a good wide receiver, we're talking about a guy here that could have that Ramondre Stevenson type season. We're talking about a guy here that easily could be a weekly top 6, top 7 play in Dameon Pierce. And a lot of people in the TikTok comments have said, because we dropped a great TikTok video for Keegan, go watch it. It's a solid one. Keegan looks fantastic in it. Just handsome guy, Keegan Thomson. People are like saying, what about Devin Singletary? And I'm like, come on here. Like, really? Devin Singletary was not brought on here to play a 3rd down role. Devin Singletary is his backup. Devin Singletary is a handcuff to Dameon Pierce. So Dameon Pierce looks like a 3-down back. You're getting him in the 5th round, and this dude has the juice. So sign me up. I'm taking Dameon Pierce in the 5th. I know there's some sexy names that I love out there, but I'd rather have Dameon Pierce this season.
Yeah, no comment. I mean, I went through that on my episode as well too, Shaun, and detailed why I like him in the 5th round. So I don't really have anything else to add to that. Supreme value in a late round to get a running back. If you're somebody who doesn't want to draft a running back the first 4 rounds, and you start your draft with Dameon Pierce in the 5th, like, you're still cooking with gas, building out your team. So I love it.
I think one of the main things that you pointed out too is like him playing like consistent 3rd downs in the preseason is pretty massive, because like if he's a legit bell cow dude, getting him in this round is just pretty silly value. It's such an absolute just like target carry hog this late is just a slam dunk pick.
He should be a 4th round pick, end of the 3rd round. He should be like firmly entrenched in the beginning of the dead zone, honestly.
100%.
Yeah,
agreed.
I'm in.
So moving on here to the 6th round, Shaun, what do you got for us after Dameon Pierce?
So I really thought Christian Watson was a 6th round pick, but he's a 5th round pick, like firmly a 5th round guy. And I'm looking at the 6th round, and it's tight ends galore. There's a lot of them. Dallas Goedert's here. Darren Waller's here. Thought long and hard about Mr. Waller with Brian Dable. Then I was doing some research on some underlying statistics. And this is somebody I've taken.
Knows what I'm thinking too.
This is somebody I've taken a lot of over the past 2 seasons. I've taken him as high as the 3rd round in fantasy football drafts last year. His talent is undeniable. His draft capital is undeniable.
Do not do it, Shaun.
His draft capital is undeniable. He is somebody here who's healthy. His season was ended last year due to health concerns. And I desperately want to take a Falcon. I want a Falcon on my team. I want a Drake London desperately in the 5th. I contemplated. I did a flirtation with Bijan in the 1st. I want to be in on this Falcons offense. I want shares of it, and I really think tight end is a great spot to target in the 6th round. So I can't believe I'm doing this, but upside wins championships. But I am going with Kyle Pitts as my favorite pick in round 6. And here's why. I'm going to lay it out here for the audience.
You're crazy.
I'm going to lay it out here for the audience.
Crazy.
I'm going to lay it out here for the audience, okay?
You like
Kyle
pain.
Kyle Pitts stats and ranks among tight ends in 2022. His ADOT, 2nd. His air yard share, 7th. his target percentage, first. His target per route run, first. His yards per route run, sixth. His catch rate, 50th. His catch rate was 50th. That is dead last out of tight ends that ran 100 routes. That's is absurd. Do you know how poorly you have to run to have that bad of a season when your underlying statistics are that good? The name of this show, and if you have not subscribed yet, please do, the Regression to the Mean podcast. If you are putting underlying metrics up like this, you will regress to the mean, and the mean would indicate that you are a top 3 tight end on a weekly basis. Kyle Pitts is healthy. He looks good in the preseason. This Falcons offense looks dynamic. We are trying to win championships here, and I couldn't pick Christian Watson. Darren Waller was my other selection here, probably safer, but you know what? We can't forget about Kyle Pitts. Don't hurt me again, Kyle, because this could have been Darren Waller, who got like 8 targets on one drive in the preseason. Don't hurt me, Kyle, okay? Don't hurt me, Arthur. But we're talking about Kyle freaking Pitts in the 6th round. What has changed? Nothing has changed. It's not like this guy wasn't earning shares of the offense. He had a legit noodle arm quarterback with nerve damage. You couldn't get him the rock. And if Desmond Ridder is even just 30% better than Marcus Mariota, we're talking about a top 5 tight end weekly that you're getting here in the 6th round. So I did it.
Wow. That's bold.
I did it.
That's bold. I think everybody in the fantasy community is probably out on Kyle Pitts at this point, even at cost.
That's why you got to be in. That's why you have to be in. You have to zig when others zag. Why are they out? Like, just because he hurt you, that's why you're out? He hurt you, that's why you're out?
He's hurt me.
6th round. 6th round. I bet you in your home leagues, half the people have the same sentiment, and they're going to take him in the 7th. You can get him in like the 7th round, I bet. I wouldn't be shocked.
What if it all goes wrong again?
I'm not letting Kyle hurt me again.
Then you lose your 6th round pick. Who cares? It's a tight end. Go pick up another guy off waivers. You're swinging for the fences here. You're trying to win titles. Don't play scared.
But then I lose my 6th round pick.
I can't
lose half your picks anyway.
I can't argue too much against it. I'm like quietly still a believer in Kyle Pitts. Maybe I'm not as outward as I used to be because I have, had to deal with his career all the way through as I've held him on a dynasty roster. So I know what the roller coaster is like, but I'm still quietly in. And just the players that go around him in that area. I think, you can make a case for Jaxson Smith and Njigba in the 6th round. If you don't have
7th round pick. So he's a 7th rounder. No cheating. No cheating here. This is like round right. We're going round by round here. Eat picks in favorite rounds. I divided each sleeper round by 12 picks. We're going round by round here. So if you look at who he's going against, it's like Dallas Goedert, Darren Waller, Kyle Pitts, some running backs I don't really want to take. I think Alvin Kamara is in there. Look, again, I'm thinking a tight end here, and I want to go on upside, so I'm just taking the swing for the fences. Like, he's the player that if he goes off, I'm going to desperately regret not being a part of it. I'm really going to regret it. And if he disappoints me again, that's all I know. All I know. Kyle Pitts could hurt you if you don't take him. Just straight up, full stop. That kind of player gets my attention in drafts, especially at the 6th round. I'm going for upside. Give me Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird round with like Dalvin, J.K. Dobbins, Swift is around there, Chris Godwin.
I contemplated Swift. Swift was definitely something I was chewing on.
Rashad White, James Conner, Cam Akers, those are some of the names in there. So I totally get it. Like against those players, I probably want somebody like Kyle Pitts instead as well too. So hey, like I said, I'm on the train. I'm ready to get hurt again.
I'm not doing it. I'll take Waller.
I'm ready to get hurt again by Kyle Pitts. Aidan will avoid it as he wasted a 3rd round draft pick on it last year, and it led him to a toilet bowl appearance. So I can understand Aidan's hate and disdain towards Kyle Pitts, the fantasy player.
Not again.
But Shaun, you know what? I love it. I knew that I had a surprise coming in this, and I was actually not prepared to hear you say that you're ready to draft Kyle Pitts every time 6th round. So I love it. Next round, round 7, what are we thinking here, Shaun? What's the move? We going back to running back position here?
No.
I know who you're going.
I'm taking Jaxson Smith and Njigba, the rookie out of Seattle, ADP 79th right now in Sleeper. That's why when you said 6th round JSN, I was like, don't step on me,
I
Keegan.
had a
Don't step
feeling
on my
when you said
seventh
that,
round pick.
I was like, little teaser alert. I have a feeling what's coming here.
So I had all those fancy Kyle Pitts stats. Like I had so many fancy stats to explain away the pain. This is pretty simple for JSN. This guy's game works perfectly with Geno Smith. Geno Smith is all about on the money throws, intermediate throws. That's JSN's game. I want shares of this Seattle Seahawks passing attack. I love stud rookie wide receivers. He's going to play almost exclusively in the slot, which means manufactured layup targets, and his current ADP is not reflective of his ceiling. What if Tyler Lockett gets hurt? What if DK Metcalf gets hurt? What if this Seattle offense is highly prolific? They have 3 absolute studs who finish in the top 24. There's so many high variance outcomes with JSN that makes his ceiling so attractive. Give me that every single time in round 7. Only other guy I thought about was Deontay Johnson, who is kind of more, I think, probably safer. Like you're buying, 9 targets a week here, but I'm going to go with the upside with JSN is my favorite pick in round 7.
Give me every piece of that offense. Give me every piece of that offense, especially JSN at that price. I think they are going to be awesome to watch. We've seen what JSN did in college. You're entering him to an awesome offense who's going to throw a ton, score a ton of points. Give me JSN there, Shaun. No arguments for me.
So going with the theme of upside and kind of like taking a swing against some safer players, because Deontay Johnson's in this range, right? Mike Evans is also there. George Pickens is also kind of in this range as well too. Isaiah Pacheco. Not a lot of guys that jump out and like kind of scream like draft me, right? They're just kind of like standard. Well, I could have this guy on my roster and I'd be all right with it. But the other upside play in this round, who is my favorite pick in the 7th, is Jordan Addison. So what's your take on the 2 rookie outcomes between JSN and Jordan Addison, and why are you leaning JSN in this territory?
I think JSN has a higher ceiling, in my opinion, than Addison. Where I think Addison has a higher floor. So if Addison, I think, is going to walk into targets faster than JSN, I think JSN's a more talented player. And I think the only reason JSN's not going in the first 5 rounds of fantasy drafts is because he plays with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So just as simple as that. I'm a big fan of Jordan Addison. He's definitely someone we've taken. Scott Fishbowl, we took Jordan Addison together. I have him in Dynasty. I love those 2 dudes. So I'm all about Jordan Addison, but I think JSN has a higher ceiling, and I really want to chase that.
Yeah, just wanted to double check. I think I can understand the argument too with Addison. Like you said, the Thielen role that he absorbs, just a ton of targets. But maybe as a receiver, Addison versus JSN, Jason's gotten all those compliments from every Ohio State player talking about what a dog he is. So, there's got to be something to his game. We've already seen some flashes, but I love it. I kind of like this area
highlights
for swings. Oh, man, that was sweet. What a ball by Drew Lock, though. Nice. People aren't talking about it.
Drew Lock comeback.
Yeah. He's going to make his return later on in my favorite picks for sure. That's for
okay, for sure. All right, well, 7 rounds in, Shaun. Now on to the 8th round. Who do you have for us here?
Going James Cook in round 8. So I've been James Cook early. I've been in on James Cook pretty early, and a lot of people are wising up now to James Cook. I don't know how long that 8th round ADP is going to last, so I'm kind of cheating here. I think by the time we're drafted in September, he's going to be going like the 6th round. But he's a year 2 running back. We want to prioritize year 2 running backs because that's where the majority of the breakouts occur. He's the clear-cut starter in this offense. Sure, Dameon Harris is hurt, so maybe that changes. But as it stands right now, he's the clear-cut starter. And again, stop me if you ever heard of Dameon Harris is hurt right now. He will see one of the lowest light box rates in the NFL because of the offensive structure that they have. So Josh Allen as a runner, spread him out with a bunch of wide receivers. This passing attack's prolific. You're not going to see 8 defenders in the box trying to stop the run. They're selling out to stop the pass. This makes it super easy to set up efficient, explosive chunk plays in the ground game at running back. Just look at what Devin Singletary did down the stretch a couple years ago. Devin Singletary on a per EPA basis was a highly efficient running back for 2 to 3 years, and James Cook was better on a limited basis last year. I understand Josh Allen's going to take away rushes, and I understand some of these targets that other, Jared Goff or other quarterbacks are going to be peppering their running backs with aren't going to be as readily accessible with Josh Allen as a mobile quarterback. But James Cook is an excellent pass-catching back, and he's capable of creating explosives in the pass games too. So he's not just a dump-off king like Austin Eckler. He was highly efficient in the run game too last season, as mentioned. He was hitting a bunch of chunk plays because of how that offense is structured. Like, preseason needs to be taken with a grain of salt. And again, Dameon Harris is injured, but his role was incredible with the starters last night. This is from week 2 of the preseason from Dwayne McFarland. 86% snap share with the starters, 75% rush share, 70% route participation, 100% short yardage snaps. Things can change, but from the available information we have right now, James Cook is the bell cow back in this offense. Whether or not he can hold up over the course of the season remains to be seen. But right now, this is one of the biggest values in all of fantasy football. Round 8 ADP for this guy. Like, people are taking Rachaad White over James Cook. Like, really, what, BMI is really the only difference in terms of their profile? Come on now. Like, seriously, James Cook's good. You can get him in the 8th round in this offense. Sign me up every day of the week.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is this round, we talked about this on my episode as well too, because I love him right here, is you look at the guys around him, there's only one other dude who's the official number 1 like player in his position, like on a depth chart, and it's Pat Freiermuth at the tight end position. Like, everybody else in this range is a second option in their offense, or it's like one of the like mid-tier quarterbacks like Dak or Deshaun, like in that area. And James Cook is a starting running back on one of the best offenses in the NFL, and you're going to get him in the 8th round. I totally agree. Shaun feels like a no-brainer.
Do you have any concerns about Josh Allen and some of the bigger backs kind of stealing goal line work from him, or you think that's not going to be an issue for him? That, because that's personally my biggest concern is the touchdowns. I think if he's catching balls and getting volume, I think that's still super encouraging. But my biggest concern with him is probably the goal line work, which I think could be a huge vulture scenario, which could absolutely zap some of his kind of like week to week upside.
You're totally fair to make that assumption, and I think it's a good assumption to make. However, 8th round ADP. If he's going in the 5th round, I'm like, I gotta really hope he crushes in short yardage. But in the 8th round, that's baked in. That's baked in. I'm taking it every day of the week.
It's just a little over baked in, I think. It's definitely baked in, but it's a little overbaked. I feel like it's still a good value get here.
There's a lot of fear getting like the RB1 in, you know, what's probably going to be a top 5 offense. So, no, I totally agree. Just wanted to bring that up.
High school, college, pros, he's never seen a ton of carries or ton of touches in a season. So he's going to have to break through for this to occur. But again, year 2 running backs, they wanted to draft him. I don't know they did trade up, but they took him in the 2nd round. He looked good when he played in limited fashion. I want to take a swing here in the 8th round. It's an easy pick for me.
I love it. So on to the 9th round. Before we get there, let's recap these rounds real quick, Shaun. So round 1, we're with Christian McCaffrey. Round 2, Amon Ra St Brown. Round 3, Chris Olave. Round 4, Justin Fields. Round 5, Dameon Pierce. Round 6, Kyle Pitts.
Wow.
Round 7, JSN. And round 8 in James Cook. I love it. It's a good start there. It sounds like a pretty good fantasy team to me.
I'd be stoked.
Yeah, I'd be pretty stoked too. So where do we head now in that round 9, Shaun?
You know where we're headed. You know where we're headed. My favorite pick in round 9 by far and away, Anthony Richardson. And Zay Flowers.
Wow.
But Anthony Richardson. I love Zay here as well, but definitely going to be Anthony Richardson here as my favorite pick in the 9th round. From Hayden Winks over at Underdog Fantasy, there have been 8 rookie quarterbacks with 75-plus runs. Here is where they would have ranked in fantasy points last season. QB3, Cam Newton. QB5, RG3. QB7, Josh Allen. QB8, Lamar Jackson. QB8, Russell Wilson. QB8, Kyler Murray. QB19, Vince Young. QB23, Deshaun Kaiser. From Kyler Murray up, every single one of these guys averaged 18.6 fantasy points per game. Why I think that he'll be able to score 18.6 plus fantasy points per game. Shane Steichen was the QB coach for rookie Justin Herbert in year 2 and 3, Jalen Hurts. He's going to create a successful offensive infrastructure around Richardson that I believe will build him a safe weekly floor. Remember, rushing is not his ceiling. His floor is his rushing. His ceiling and what he does in the NFL in years 1, 2, 3, and beyond is how he develops as a passer. And again, I don't think his pass game weapons are that bad. I think Michael Pittman's solid. I like Alec Pierce. Josh Downs is a favorite. Jelani Woods is interesting. I'm a little nervous that Jonathan Taylor isn't playing. It'd be nice to, have some more stability at running back to pair with Richardson. However, Shane Steichen is probably going to create more opportunities in the run game for Richardson. In his first preseason game, it was full Richardson on display through a bad pick, through an absolute laser beam, 40 yards down the field to Alec Pierce that he dropped. It's going to be a lot of that this season. I think he's more of a developed passer than a lot of people give him credit for. If you've been following this podcast for a while, you understand the thesis. You understand where I'm at. There's a lot of risk with Anthony Richardson here in the 9th round, but there's a lot of upside on waiting until the 9th round to draft your quarterback. You know how many good players you can take from rounds 1 through 8 if you don't draft a quarterback in the 5th, 6th rounds? He has a ton of upside. You can take another guy later on that you can pair with him to create a safe floor ceiling combo. I love Richardson. I don't want to miss out on Richardson. If Richardson goes bananas, it would have been very simple to understand it in hindsight. You're like, yeah, of course he was going to go bananas. And if he isn't very good, you cut him. It's round 9 quarterback. It's fine. You move on, cut your losses. I want in on that legendary upside. I'm taking Anthony Richardson here. I think he will be a weekly top 12 play by the end of the season.
I think the biggest thing with Anthony Richardson, I'm kind of on the cautious side with him.
No, you're a full-blown hater.
I think he is. I just don't think he's a very good passer, which is my biggest issue with him. I know you guys kind of think the contrary. Maybe it was kind of a gimmicky college offense, but kind of what he displayed at the college level and already kind of what he displayed in week 1, like it's going to be an absolute roller coaster with this guy.
Yes.
You have to pair him with another QB. It's kind of the only way to do it. If you're hitching yourself to Anthony Richardson as kind of like your only QB, like if you go all in on Anthony Richardson, it could absolutely burn you. So like you probably got to pair him with a guy like Kirk or even like a guy like Geno or Jared Goff. Like I think you need to pair him with someone else. But the upside with him is absolutely like it's super exciting. But I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle on him. You guys know how I feel about Anthony Richardson.
Dude, Tim Tebow and Terrell Pryor were like top 12 weekly plays, and those guys couldn't throw the football like at all. I think we're underestimating the rushing upside and Shane Steichen. Like I think that creates more week-to-week floor than I think we're giving credit for. He is a projection as a passer. He shows really interesting traits on film. He's not as raw as it may seem, and he just needs to get his licks. He just needs to get his reps up, right? And I agree, it's going to look kind of gross. Remember year 1 Josh Allen looked like, oh, that guy sucks. And then he looked up and he's like, he scored 25 fantasy points? Like, how did that happen? So I know it's like lazy to make the Josh Allen comp. It's kind of crazy to make the Cam Newton comp, but we're talking about the most athletic quarterback of all time. If I don't take him and I get burned because in week 16 he goes off for a 35 bomb and I missed it because I was worried that he was going to have a 60% completion rate, I just can't live with that. Yes, Aidan, he is the most athletic quarterback of all time according to Raz testing at the combine. So that wasn't something I just made up off the cuff. I know you made a face, so I want to stand by that one. Okay, look, I understand I've already shilled Kyle Pitts, and I'm coming back more for Anthony Richardson. I'm shameless here, okay? But yes, he's my favorite pick in the 9th round. Outside of, I love Zay Flowers. If you don't want to take a quarterback here, take Zay Flowers. Great pick in the 9th round.
Living
These two
life
guys
on
are
the
going to
edge
be featured in our Boomer Bust episode that we have coming out as well, I'm sure, too. So there'll be two prime
He will be our
candidates for that
starting
episode.
quarterback and starting tight end on Shaun's favorite picks currently.
Absolutely. Well, I'm all in on Anthony Richardson as well, too. I've already acquired him in one league and in one draft of mine. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm kind of the same way, Shaun. I just don't want to miss out. If he breaks out, I want to have a piece of it. So I'm all in. Moving on to round 10, Shaun. What are you thinking here?
I might have lost Aidan on round 9, but I am getting him right back here in round 10. I'm taking Khalil Herbert in round 10.
There we go. I'm back in.
Yes.
I take it all back. Good pick.
I am taking Khalil Herbert as my favorite pick in round 10. This is another one that I just feel like, am I taking crazy pills? This guy normally would be a 6th-round pick in fantasy drafts. Like, why is he a 10th-round pick? Pretty much any advanced stat you look at confirms that Khalil Herbert is #good at football. Rush yards over expected 1.44. He was number 1. above Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, and J.K. Dobbins. Yards after contact per attempt, number 4, only behind Breece Hall, Ramondre, and Tony P. This Bears rush attack is going to be prolific. It's going to be efficient. Justin Fields is going to be running a RPO-heavy offense. We already saw his big playability in week 1 of the preseason. I know we don't want to overreact to week 1 of the preseason, but it's always nice to see a running back take a 6-yard dump off and house call that shit. It's always a good thing whenever we're able to see a running back do that because we like that. That leads to fantasy points, and we want to score more fantasy points than our opponents each week. By all accounts, he's a starting running back in Chicago. He did not play last night. No starters played last night. He played every single snap with Justin Fields in week 1. He is the starter. We will see some Dante Foreman mixed in. Roschon Johnson is clearly the third stringer, even though there's a contingency on Twitter that thinks he's going to be the starting running back, which we love Roschon, but where are we getting this? All right, he is not this year's Ramondre Stevenson. This is an ultra-talented guy. I believe in this offense. I like running backs tied to really incredible rushing quarterbacks. It makes their lives easier. Round 10, sign me up for Khalil Herbert. Like, what if he is on the field for all 3 downs? What if he becomes the bell cow? Fine. What if he's just a committee back? Fine. You draft him in the 10th round. Who cares? Like, his ceiling is awesome. So I'm taking Khalil Herbert here in the 10th round. I love that pick.
There's a bunch of...
I'm back in.
You're back in on Shaun now, on Shaun's draft.
I'm back
You're
in,
back
Shaun.
in.
I take it all. Shaun's got 2 Bears in 10 rounds. I'm back in, baby. Yeah, this was a team that led the league in both rushing yards and yards per carry at a team level, and the offensive line only got better. The passing attack's only going to be better, which will help out the rushing game, and this is the running back 1 in the 10th round. There's not too much to say. I love it, Shaun. I think Justin Field obviously is a bit of a threat with his rushing upside, and then you've got some of the other running backs as well, but in the 10th round, again, you're getting a starting running back in what's probably going to be a top 5 rushing attack again. Sign me up.
Yeah, Shaun just executed the Bears running back handcuff. He drafted the RB1 in round 1, and now he drafted the RB2 in round 10.
That's very savvy, Shaun. Very savvy.
There's some weird players going in this range, too. I know my pick was Elijah Moore. I really like him here. But Cortland Sutton, I could be missing the boat there on that, but he's in that range. Cole Kmet, Kincaid, Devon Achane, Alan Lazard, Geno Smith, Jamison Williams, Jerick McKinnon are some of the players that kind of round out that range. And it's a bit boring. So why not go get a running back who's projected to be the starter on an offense this year in the 10th round? I love it. 2 rounds left, Shaun. We're into round 11 now. Who do you like in this round here?
I mean, Sky Moore was looking at me, had to take him seriously. Keegan highlighted Sky Moore. I love Sky Moore here, but I had to stay true to my heart. I am really going to look to draft quarterbacks in 3 phases of a draft. I am looking in the 4th round or 5th round. I'm looking around in that 9th round spot, or I'm going to wait till the very end of the draft. And Daniel frickin' Jones in the 11th round. Like, listen to this. I just said the name. I spoiled it, right? You could draft a quarterback that had an 8-week stretch to end last season that was the QB7 in fantasy points per game, and he was the QB4 in total fantasy points per game. And he was throwing to the likes of Saquon Barkley, Darius Slayton, Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins, Wan'Dale Robinson, Daniel Bellinger, and Lawrence Cager. That's what Daniel Jones was able to do. Yes, Lawrence Cager, the aforementioned star, Lawrence Cager. Saquon Barkley was by far and away the best pass catcher over the course of that season for the Giants. Enter Darren Waller, enter Paris Campbell, enter Jalen Hyatt, enter just year 2 in Brian Dable's system. This team, when Isaiah Hodgins was inserted into the starting lineup as in the 3 wide receiver set, they went from a negative pass rate over expectation team to a positive one, like almost overnight. Think about Brian Dable with the Bills. They want to throw the ball. This isn't a establish it offense. They understand how important it is to throw the ball. They made an acquisition this season to acquire a pass catcher. There were a lot of players they could have acquired. DeAndre Hopkins was on the market. There were a lot of people willing to change teams, and they traded a 3rd-round pick for Darren Waller. Love Darren Waller. Probably should have been my 6th-round pick, but I wasn't going to take him there, so I'm going to get exposure to Darren Waller here at the end of the draft. Daniel frickin' Jones, Brian Dable, an ascending Giants offense. Give me all of it in the 11th round. This guy won people fantasy ships last year with his performance. Give me Danny Dimes, the man, the truth, the legend. I'm going with.
I don't really,
Dimes.
I don't really understand why his ADP is so low. Like amongst all platforms, this is obviously we're taking consensus from multiple platforms and kind of leaning on the sleeper rankings here. But why is he so low in drafts after we saw what he did at the end of last year and just like the way their season went? And all they did was get better as an offense. Like you said, they added Waller. Their pass catchers are better. Daniel Jones has another year of NFL experience on him, like another year in Dable's system.
Year 2.
I don't understand the math. I don't
You're
get
preaching
the
to the
math.
choir. The math ain't mathin'. It's because people think
The
he
math
sucks.
ain't mathin'.
People think he legitimately sucks. I don't think he sucks.
Their preseason drive the other night was just like warm knife through butter. It was so freaking smooth.
It was pretty surgical, yeah.
I caught highlights and I was like, that was like the easiest thing I've ever seen. Granted, it's the Panthers, but I don't care. That was awesome. Darren Waller was heavily involved getting the ball to everyone. I was like, this is going to be fun. He was QB8 last year and is getting drafted as QB11 or 12 this year. He should be drafted no later than QB8. It doesn't make any sense. He can probably get better than that this year. So I love the pick. We're a big Daniel podcast here.
He ran for like 700 yards last year. Like, we're discounting his growth as a passer. What I'm saying is this guy is Josh Allen light. I know that sounds crazy to say, but in terms of he's in Dable's system, they're going to pass the ball more. He rushes a ton. He literally could make a Josh Allen type leap. I wouldn't be that shocked. Like, seriously, I know it sounds blasphemous, but he was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Like, the guy's obviously talented. So I think this is a big year for Danny Dimes. And you're getting me 11th round. Imagine this. You could take Anthony Richardson, wait around, and then take Danny Dimes. And you roll into your drafts with Richardson and Dimes as your starting quarterbacks. Like, you pick one each week. Hey, you could even build out a dynasty team with both those guys as your quarterbacks. That would be incredible in that situation, that scenario, right? So that is something I'm all in on. Give me Danny Dimes in the 11th round.
All right, Shaun, let's take us home here with your 12th round pick. Who is your favorite pick of this round?
So this is probably my new favorite late round tight end. I love you, Greg. Greg, I still believe in you. You ran more routes. You ran the fourth most routes last night in the preseason. I'm glad you were on the field. However, you're like a part-time player right now, Greg. Let's bump up that route participation to 70%, and you were easily my favorite pick here in the 12th round. So if you want to go late round tight end, I think this is by far and away the easiest late round tight end pick. Here is the list of tight ends who had a higher target percentage than Tyler Higbee last season. Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and list.
Wow. I was not prepared for this draft pick right here. I was not.
I didn't see that coming. I had no idea.
I thought it was
maybe Chig or something. I didn't know where you were going with tight end there, but all I know is you're a traitor for leaving. No, I'm kidding. No, I love the pick. He's probably going to be, behind Cooper Kupp, probably the second highest target getter in that offense. So I love the pick personally. I think he's going to get a ton of volume. Count me in.
Here's the list of tight ends who had a higher target percentage than Tyler Higbee, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and list. That is insane. He's competing for targets with Van Jefferson, Puka Nacua, and Cam Akers outside of the number two to be the number 2 target in this offense behind Cooper Kupp. You're getting him for free. Don't forget about
Tutu Atwell.
And Tutu Atwell, of course. You're getting him for free. He's literally free. Like, no one wants to draft Tyler Higbee. No one's getting excited to draft Tyler Higbee. You're going to get him for free. Last year, I was all in on Zach Ertz because Zach Ertz was just going to be the by far and away number 2 passing option in a high-volume pass offense behind DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown. Zach Ertz was a walking 5 for 50 every single week, and the week he caught a touchdown, you weren't beating me. Tyler Higbee is like the same setup. He even is as slow and dusty as 30-year-old Zach Ertz. Like, this is perfect. 12th round. You're getting him for free. Give me all the Tyler Higbee. He's the perfect late round tight end flyer. If you just build up your whole entire draft of wide receivers and running backs, take your quarterback in the 9th, 10th, 11th round, and then take Tyler Higbee as your tight end, you could have a stacked team if the quarterback gives you that nice floor and Tyler Higbee delivers, which I think he will.
I'm just scared about Stafford and just the Rams in general. Like, I still think Cooper Kupp is a pretty decent safe pick, but like outside of that, I don't know who else to trust in the offense. Now, tight end position is a little different, right? Like we value it differently, and this is the 12th round, so it's hard to argue against Tyler Higbee. But I just do have some slight concerns about Stafford and the Rams in general. But 12th round, get a tight end this late who's starter, projected for a ton of volume, good amount of targets. I think it's a good play to make in this late round here.
His best game of the year last year, week 16 without Matthew Stafford, he dropped a 30 bomb, a 9 for 94 and 2 tutties. He had 4 top 10 finishes after Stafford got hurt, and if you count the games with Stafford, he had 6 top 10 finishes last season. You get him free.
Yeah, he was balling in the beginning of the season last year. Just his first 5 weeks of the season, all double-digit outings from the tight end position in PPR.
Give it to me.
Quietly tight end 6 on the year.
Yeah. Yep, that's the position in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? That's why you wait until the 12th round sometimes to pick up your guy. So we've gone through 12 rounds, 12 of your favorite picks, Shaun. Looking beyond these 12 rounds, do you have any favorite sleepers you want to shout out or any other favorite draft picks you're targeting towards the end of your rounds? Most times drafts or redrafts are like 13 to 15 rounds, sometimes 16. So who do you have on your radar beyond that 12th round?
Okay, so we had Nico Collins from Aidan. We had Jaylen Warren from Keegan. I probably want to take Jaylen Warren here as my favorite dart throw. But for our listeners, let's give him a third one, right? And if you are a casual observer of the NFL, you probably don't know about a feud that is so vicious it makes Edward and who was the werewolf in Half Moon? And it was Edward versus Jacob, right? Is something so contentious. Jacob. It is a contentious.
I can't believe we just got a Twilight shout out.
Either or. I mean, it is divisive on fantasy Twitter. So if you're casual, you're not aware of this, but the amount of vitriol and hate that the Travis Etienne crowd has versus the Tank Bigsby crowd it's divisive. I'll leave it at that. However, 12th, 13th, 14th round, Tank Bigsby, if anything were to happen to Travis Etienne, you were talking about a 3-down workhorse in one of the best offenses in football. Tank Bigsby looks awesome in the preseason. However, I believe he's the backup running back as it currently stands. So it's more of a handcuff play. But if anything were to happen to Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby is a weekly top 12 play, and you got him for free at the end of your draft.
He's been pretty lights out in the preseason, dude. That's a pretty awesome backfield. Like, they can coexist, whether it's a 60-40 split, 65-35. I don't really care. I think those are just 2 really good running backs. And to your point, if anything happens to ETN, like, that is an absolute smash play potential league winner in Tank Bigsby. So I'm in on him, 100%.
Easy click at the end of drafts.
Easy.
So Keegan, what was the recap here? What was my list that I had?
All right, so I'm going to try and rip this off the top of the dome here. So first round, Shaun, Christian McCaffrey, Niners homer pick, but also incredible fantasy pick. I think safe running back pick in the first round. Second round, Amon Ra St Brown should be a first rounder, but I agree he'll probably be in the second in your redraft leagues. One of the best values you could get. Yeah, in your home redraft leagues, one of the best values you could get. Round 3. Chris Olave, another really good value pick, I think, of the third round. Round 4, we're taking Justin Fields, and we're getting our elite quarterback. Round 5, we're snatching up Dameon Pierce and evening out that RB room. Round 6 is where things get a little crazy, and we're talking some Kyle Pitts action, and we're all aboard the Pitts train. Choo-choo, Shaun. I hope it doesn't burn you. Round 7, we're swinging for some rookie upside with JSN. Round 8, we're going back to the running back well with James Cook. Round 9, we're dipping into the quarterback pool again with Anthony Richardson, the most athletic testing quarterback in the history of athletic testing at the NFL Combine, if I will say. Round 10, Khalil Herbert, explosive runner out of Chicago, projected RB1. Round 11. Who was your round 11 pick? I just got through all 10 rounds and I forgot round 11.
Daniel, right?
Daniel Jones. So we've got 3 quarterbacks on this list for Shaun, following the same theme as Aidan, who went with 4 quarterbacks. Round 12, Tyler Higbee for some value tight end and a deep sleeper in Tank Bigsby for Shaun. And that'll round out 13 of his favorite picks in fantasy football. I think it's a pretty good list. I think you guys are not showing your full cards, on this podcast and hiding some of your picks.
No way.
With picking so many quarterbacks.
I gave away my full quarterback strategy. It's not my fault that the quarterbacks are the best picks in some rounds. And again, rounds 5 and 6 has all the receivers I want. And I'm just sitting there like, what is going on here? Like this like a 2-3 round binge of wide receivers where if we did a My Guys episode, a lot of them would be wide receivers that are drafted in that territory. But late round quarterback, man, it's a vibe this year. Get off or get home, man.
Is it back?
Fields.
Late round quarterback, is it back?
When you got Konami code guys going that late, sign me up. And Geno too. Geno's gonna crush. No Jared Goff like Aidan though. That was a left field pick. The Goff experience.
Smoke screens, baby. No, I love golf.
Yeah, I think it's a great list though, Shaun. Thank you for showing your hand there and taking us through your 12 favorite picks. Now, all three of us have completed our favorite list. You can watch Aidan's video on our YouTube channel. You can watch my video on our YouTube channel and catch up on our favorite picks. And yeah, speaking of, make sure when you do go check that out, you subscribe so you don't miss your next video. Turn on some notifications. Make sure you're following us on Twitter too. As the season gets ramped up, we're doing some preseason tweeting for all you sickos who care about the preseason and trying to highlight some key performances. Staying up to date on our TikTok with tons of content there as well too. And you could follow us on Instagram Reels as well too for some of the same content. So don't miss out. Football season's almost here. We're getting ready. September 7th is the first game of the season, Thursday night, right? We're getting close, boys. I've got a draft today. I know we draft tomorrow for a new Dynasty Startup League. Things are shaping up for the fantasy football season, boys. I'm excited.
It's going to be a busy one. Keegan, since you took my job with hosting, can I take your job for the
Shaun,
episode?
anything to say for the listeners today?
I love game-winning drive led by Trey Lance, baby.
Oh, my God.
Woo! That's what I love.
Canceled.
You're canceled. We'll never ask Shaun what he loves at the end of a pod again.